very interesting. I've never crashed on that game before. Alright, well, that's a good deal. Let's see. Over here, let's get do a colony, let's do that. Welcome back, thank you. Alright, off to oxygen we go now after that, that interesting hijacking. You're not patriots, you're terrorists. I'm calling it right now. Yeah, your ism is, there's no patriotism, that's terrorism. That's what you just threw down. I hope you're happy. I said sorry? You didn't say sorry after, after you nuked the... I'm just kidding. It's fine. I honestly have no idea why it did that. I think this is the appropriate screen for this. Nuked myself first? I did notice that. I did notice that. I did think that was interesting. Alright, well, we're on Ani at least for a little bit, so... a little earlier than I was expecting, but... Because I had 3 other friends playing, but it picked you. Yeah, and then Smiles picked you. How about that? Okay. So, real quick recap of stuff here. Let me let the simulation catch up here first. There we go. Okay, so just to recap everything that's been going on. I did finally clean out and capture this hydrogen vent, which we are using for our basic power supply on top of the wood and all that right now. We also set up some automation, which we were using this to also sweep. So see right here, there's some leftover conveyor rail from this process, but this is pretty hot, so we've just sealed it off. We are now just pumping all of the hydrogen that we can into these buffer tanks, and just burning off the power. I noticed that the hydrogen is pretty hot, so I'm setting up a little cooling system here that's going to take a little bit of time to get that sorted presently. And I can't finish it without, like, having access to this, so that's what this airlock is for over here. So once that's done, we're going to be taking a lot of this cold, polluted water. We're going to be actually sending it through here instead. So in fact, what I'm going to do is we're actually going to be disconnecting this and just letting this go the rest of the way out. The reason we need to do that is because right now it's sitting at about 5 degrees, and arbor trees that we're feeding it to primarily want to be at a body temperature of 15 to 40, 15 being the lowest. So feeding this cooler water will inevitably cool down their body temperature, so I need to prevent that so they can still grow and do their job. To do that, we're first going to offload some of their fuel over here into this area, because this is going to generate a lot of heat. And then I do want to route a little bit of it around, but we're going to see about that. Eventually it will end up here. This is going to become a more proper tank, which is going to have... Let's see if I can find it. I think I researched it. There should be a liquid tepidizer somewhere in here. I'm not sure if I'm finding it. Oh, right here. So we're going to use this to then warm the tank to a certain temperature range. Mostly just like, so it's room temperature, ish, so to speak. And then we're going to use that to then feed these trees. So we have a big buildup of lumber, you can see right there. We need to start automating the process of turning it into ethanol. And then we're going to be using ethanol for a couple things as well here. And I just noticed that we are not harvesting this mealwood like we should be doing here. Alright. Good old Ani. Never fails. Never fails us. So, yes, that's our, like, basic initial cooling system for these mostly, just so that their temperature doesn't bleed into the rest of all this to make things awkward. Not that we're too worried about that, because we have a lot of chill just everywhere, so heat's not a huge issue, except for just this right now. There's a volcano right here. That is going to be a bit of a problem to kind of manage that a bit, but it should overall be fine. So what's your initial setup? What do you mean? When you get off for the night, so I should pick the damage that's left to heal on my shoulder. Oh wait, you actually like jacked up your shoulder? Stand by. I'll look at it right now. How did you manage to do that? Were you like hovering the stock a bit? Or was it just the repeated use? When you open up a new save? I got a couple different ways, and it depends on the environment, but typically... Oh, I need to move that poke shell. I just remembered I need to move that. Typically, when you start here, what I'll do is I'll dig out one direction or another, flat, to get some initial material. I figure out where the closest clean water is, if there is any available. And if there's not, I figure out a way to get some clean water quickly. And then I set up... This is my starting research station right here, right by the light. Because the light gives a bonus to research, so it goes a little bit faster. And then immediately set up... This was where the initial bathroom setup was. This is now a... this is now a trauma center, so to speak. Without the doctor station and all that. So that then I can set up my more clean bathroom system, which I have 2 of them right now. Just to, like, make sure I have enough for everybody. And these are closed loop systems. Meaning that they will always be able to feed themselves, like, forever. And then all I have to do is just, I take the excess polluted water in this case, and I send that down to this tank right here. For both of these systems. Normally, I take the excess clean water, and then I put that in through a cleaning system. Which is usually comprised of chlorine. I'm not doing that this time, though, because I have a use for polluted water right now that I'm doing that with. So I don't have someone I'm taking, like, clean water with just yet. Oh yeah, so we did pseudo-tame this thing. Really, we're not doing a closed system with this one right now. We're just letting it build up because we're planning to eat through quite a bit of the polluted water in this for a time. If it starts to get too big of a problem, then we're going to fix that a bit. In fact... What I just realized is I could move the pump location if I wanted to, and I might do that later, but for now this is gonna work, so I'm just gonna cancel that build right now. That'd be from ZK, all wood furniture, no pad, with all the mag dump, plus my 556, so we again we're mag dumping, but also 3-right does a number on the shoulder being padded or not when it's bolty. And I have a double padded pad fixed to socket and impact pullover pad. Oh, okay. I got you, I got you. Just, all the times that I've been shooting, I've never actually contracted bruising from it yet. So maybe I just haven't shot enough. But yeah, so that's my initial setup to get started, is I make sure I have a bathroom, I make sure I have research, and then I make absolutely sure that I have access to clean water in one way, shape, or form. So this one, I'm just going through what clean water we do have, and you can see that it is going down. And eventually, the idea, at least, is that we'll be taking this brine, and we'll be turning this brine into clean water through one specific method. That method is going to be the use of this volcano. We're going to make this a combined system, where I'm going to use the volcano to turn this into steam, and then we're going to take the steam engines with the water, we're just going to port the water out, into a cooling system, and then into a tank. I'll explain when we get to that point. We're not to that point just yet, but this is going to be a new system I'm working on. It'll be very interesting. So, we're also going to be using the abyssalite that's naturally here as a heat shielding bit. So what that means, basically, is that I'm going to actually have this all kind of collect right here. We're going to close this off with some insulated tiles. And we're just going to use the natural formation of the Abyssalite for the time being. To then, like, handle all this. We are going to have to dig into this a little bit, just because we'll have to put steam engines up here, but it shouldn't be too big of a problem. One problem that we do have is that in order to get steam, well, I say steam engines because that's a factorial thing, so the steam, like, turbines or whatever. Is it steam engines in this game, actually? Can't see it. Let's see, steam. Oh, they are steam turbines, okay, that's what I thought. So in order to build steam turbines, we require plastic. We get plastic one of two ways. We either get it from oil, and, well, specifically from petroleum, or we get it from Drecos. From the glossy Drecos, specifically. Now, both ways have their pros and cons. This planet has no oil fields whatsoever that I can see. However, this planet that we went to has an abundance of oil reses here. So we're probably going to be using those to our advantage is the idea. I was going to do a nature reserve right here. I'm beginning to debate on maybe not doing this, this get up here. Haven't decided fully yet. Ani has multiple worlds now. Had it for a while, actually. Where have you been? Had it for years. This is the spaced out DLC. And even in the vanilla one, there was like other worlds. You just didn't really go to them, so to speak. Yeah, so we have the star map right here. So it's very small right now, but all these hexagons you see right here, they can have potential planetoids and stuff, which is why we're going to be setting up a space program to go to all those and like automate shipments and stuff when needed. But this first one has a teleporter that we can send a dupe over, which we did. We have I think Teddy is the one we have. We also have these supply teleporter outputs and inputs here and there. Inspect that real quick. So this is where we can receive items from there, and then our input is up here, so we can send items over there from here as well. But we're not too concerned about that just yet. I'm also kind of wondering how come I'm not seeing anybody farming these. These are not getting the proper attention I feel they deserve. Oh, it's because of the priorities that we set on everything else. So we're actually gonna change these to a 7 so they're not taking up too many things. And we're gonna set these to a 9 because they are very important right now. I don't actually know why these haven't been getting attention. I was wondering why my calorie count was going down when everything was perfectly fine, because I did the math behind it, but... Let's see... Starvation. Uh-huh. You're just going to the bathroom, relax. Yep, and as you can see, there's a lot of, like, tidying that needs to be done around the base. Because I've been scrambling trying to get them to clean this out so that we had access to the hydrogen. Now that that's done, now it's kind of like it's a maintenance spree. Because this system now just does its own thing. It has enough power to power this and then everything, like pretty much everything else we're doing right now. And then we do have these wood burners as a backup, is the idea. So I'm actually going to be adjusting these a bit. Go 5 and 95. Then this one is at, we'll do 95 here, but we'll leave it at 10. And in fact, I'm actually going to cut this off earlier at 85. So that means that we have to really be running out of power to use these, and then they'll cut off and let these like finish the rest of the way, meaning that we should be using mostly hydrogen in the future now, and then we'll just let the wood build up over here. Because this is 14.5 tons of lumber here. And it says that we have lumber in a couple other places, but I don't really care right now. So, I don't know if anyone has done the shipping yet. But shipping is incredibly convenient, which you'll see right here, where we can take items and reduce dupe labor by putting them onto these rails and then sending them all to a central location, such as this, which we can then distribute out from here. So that's what we're doing right now when it comes to like the dirt and the lumber and the eggshells as well, because we're gonna be wanting the eggshells to go to certain places, but we don't have the tech to like have filters on all of our rails. So this is our early game solution for it. And some oxalite would be nice, actually. So we're just going to get some oxalite just to kind of let it sit there and off-gas, pump into the atmosphere a bit. Because you can see here how we have a bit of a problem with carbon dioxide. And that problem primarily stems from the fact that all of our oxygen is floating up to these like high places we have, and our carbon dioxide is beginning to fill quite a bit of these lower places, so the oxygen's not really allowed to come down here nearly as much as I would like it to. There's also some other materials in here as well. We did set up this, which is going to start pulling at least some of that carbon dioxide and sending it out. You can already see that it started to do that job. That's the same thing that these are supposed to be doing over here, is pumping out excess. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, that is not supposed to be happening, because this is how we're supposed to be getting rid of the chlorine we're generating from the rust, the oxidizers here. So if that's going on, that can cause potential issues. So if we come over to our materials overlay on the gas, you can see here that the other thing that burns the carbon dioxide turns it into oxygen. Yeah, oxyferns, kind of. It's not very good though. So if you look at oxyferns here, especially when they're wild, well, so to fertilize them you need dirt and water, and they actually take quite a bit. So it can absorb carbon dioxide and exude breathable oxygen, but you have to understand that it'll take off this much carbon dioxide, milligrams, and then off gas 31.25 grams. It's not very much, especially when you consider that the average dupe, so if we just click up here on the dupe, you look at their status here, when it comes to their breath, or their oxygen, you can actually see, might be in properties, you can see the stat on like how much they actually breathe. There you go. Inhaling 130 grams per second, and then exhaling the milligrams of carbon dioxide. So the oxyferns to me are just not really worth the squeeze. I let them kind of exist where they are because it doesn't hurt to have them as much. But the main issue is that we haven't done what we typically do, which is where we dig out everything and then build out and have proper airflow. Because I was entertaining the idea of having a nature reserve right here that they would go through. I'm beginning to think I might scrap that idea in order to allow proper airflow, and then start so coming up here for one, cutting this off so that oxygen will just start building up down here, which I think is something I do need to do, actually. So the way that we're going to do that in particular, just to kind of help out with things, is that I'm going to set a manual airlock. We'll just do some basic tiles here. And just doing just like this. So in fact, I don't need to do the whole thing just yet. I can just do that. And we're going to set this as a priority of 8. Now the reason that we're wanting that now is because we don't want oxygen to be escaping up here, where it could potentially then void out into space. We want it to start building up down here, and if we use up this oxygen, that's great, but we don't want to be building up oxygen up here, so we want to stop it here and allow oxygen to start putting pressure and pushing the heavier gases down. As you see right here, this is a carbon dioxide trap right here, which we're slowly trying to kind of dig through here. But that can have some mixed success, obviously. So that's a lot of what we're doing, basically. So one of the things that we can do to kind of offset some of this is so we can do like a ladder stretch right here. And we can just dig out all these. And then this gives a lot of free space for gases to move around, which is what we probably should have done to begin with. And here we can do something similar just straight across right there, because we don't need any of this real estate up here. And it just gives more room for gases to move around right now. Because that's what's going to stop these. You can see the max gas pressure notification. And if you look at their properties, you can see that their uptime is like low percentages, not even a quarter of a cycle they're running. Now this can be good if it means that they're overpressured from oxygen. This can be bad. This can be very bad if the overpressurization is coming from other gases, which, as you can see here, it's mostly coming from other gases right now. So, in order to fix that, right here, this is where a lot of carbon dioxide tends to sink into. We've got a system here to pump it out. So, with this system to pump it out, the only thing we need to do is we need to add more airflow. So, like right here, this is set up to let air actually flow straight down here. We just need to give it more space up here to actually flow, is the idea now. To be fair, I'm surprised I'm not done this thing. Why? I think your area of expertise happens to be in research, and then you also grill on the side when you're not researching. So you're actually pretty important, but a lot of your job description does not actually require you to do anything too crazy, minus analyzing a few of... so, like, for example, you analyze the hydrogen vent, you analyzed our salt slush geyser, and this cool slush geyser as well. And you'll be analyzing other things as we get around to them as well. Still alive? Yeah, most people are still alive. The only people that have died have been Mini Chris and Pink Rose had a dupe on here that died as well. And then Raving's here. Raving's not in a super happy spot because I needed a mechatronics engineer like today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because Teddy is going to become the mechatronics engineer. But he didn't have the requisite, or she, I guess, the requisite skill points. So Teddy has been over on the opposite planetoid, which is where Pink Rose died. Took over their job in order to strip mine all of this. And you can see now here we've done more of our conventional thing where we've been stripping it out. We run ladders straight across. And this allows us to get all of the material down here. And then we can deal with it later and, like, organize it and whatnot. We still have some stuff up here that we're doing. And we've just been having them basically feeding on whatever they've been digging up and finding, because we're not setting up a permanent colony over here. There is a poke shell right there that is in a protecting stance, so hopefully Teddy doesn't bore on over there right now. And unfortunately, we did not find a metal volcano over here. Now, the reason that that's kind of a problem is because we don't have a source of refined metal to go off of. Which means that we're just going to have to refine our own metal in an industrial area. Unless we can find another planet that has some refined metal that we're looking for. Specifically, I would prefer to have an iron volcano. If we could find one. But we have to get a space program up and running before we can even attempt to find that stuff. So, before we can do that, we need to stabilize the situation down here. So one of the things that we're going to be doing tonight is, now that we've got this system where we're able to actually clean up and ship a lot of our lumber around that we're using, and we have a place where we're storing lumber specifically, we're then going to be turning lumber into ethanol. So the reason that we want to turn lumber into ethanol is because we're going to be doing something I haven't done before, which is we're going to be growing nosh beans. And they come from nosh sprouts. So the interesting thing with these is that they actually require ethanol to grow. So because of that, this is why we set up this farm down here, so we have a permanent source of arbor trees at any given point, at least, you know, from this. And we built up a huge stockpile of wood as well that we were using for power, and now we're going to use it to produce ethanol. So, I forgot to check. So it requires dirt and ethanol. But I don't think it requires light. So, Bristle blossoms require light. That's their limiting factor. These do not require light, but they do require dirt. Fun fact, this is also producing dirt because of our lovely little pips that are here as well. Right? That's very good. We like that a lot. So, we're going to be taking all this into consideration. So, we'll be shipping lumber straight out from here. And for now, it's going to our temporary, like, backup power here. And I think we're actually going to... We're going to be cutting that off now. So I'm just going to go ahead. We're just going to snip right there. And interestingly enough, that actually stops it from dropping. I didn't think it would do that. So I wonder if I go... Nope, that didn't do anything there either. So, those are just going to sit on the rails for a bit, and then we're going to be distributing those down here to an ethanol distiller. We're going to start with one, but you can see here the potential load is pretty high with this ethanol distiller here. So the reason for that is because we're still on 2-strand wire for quite a bit of what we do here. We want to change that eventually and go to... higher quality wire with refined metals. However, as you can probably guess, that requires dupe labor and is a bit of a pain. So we're not doing that right off the bat. So what we can do instead, as a temporary fix, is we can just hook up another power transformer similar to what we've done before. And we're going to do this right here. And... here, we're going to be replacing this ladder with a heavy watt plate to go and allow this to just kind of cross. We're not too concerned about that. So this is going to become kind of like a pseudo maintenance area, which is why we're now going to be also closing it off with a manual airlock. And then they can get down here for a little bit of repair stuff, but nothing too crazy. I don't know why Mobius is taking it. Oh, narcoleptic nap. I did not realize that Mobius was narcoleptic. That sucks. That's okay. We'll deal with it. But yeah, so now the idea is that we want to start feeding this ethanol distiller to then operate with this. And then we have a hydro sensor here that'll just stop filling this tank when it reaches a certain level. That's it. It's pretty simple in the end. So, what we're going to do is, with our shipping here... we will first begin by just having a conveyor chute, which will probably just drop these right here, because it's just going to be a one system thing. We need some more refined metal before we can make the auto sweeper, but it'll essentially go here somewhere. And then we'll just have a conveyor rail coming from here, which is going to want to come up here, but we have to do this carefully. Conveyor bridges are a bit expensive. So I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to come like this. It's going to be a little convoluted to begin with here. So we're going to go something like that. In fact, let's actually change it just a hair. Like I said, a bit convoluted to begin with. However, the idea is that we just get it to where it needs to go to start our initial processes, and more importantly, to reduce dupe labor. So those are our #1 concerns at any given time, is to try to reduce the amount of labor dupes have to do so that they're more free to do other things, and then operate off of that. So then here, we've got this, where we can now separate some of our power, which is going to be including all this. So we're actually going to be cutting this off somewhere in here, and then cutting down wire. So what we can do is we can actually come in, we'll snip, and we'll have a look. 1200 and 720. So this is actually perfect if we just keep this isolated, which is what we're going to do to start with. So we're actually going to run a wire straight here. And this is not very pretty wiring by any means, just so you know. This is quite ugly wiring, I will admit. We're gonna do that. And then just delete that, but not the connection point there. Okay, and then we are gonna be upping the priority of this specifically because so long as that is not connected, that means that a lot of this is going to not have power anymore. So it's got a little bit of battery power to go for a bit, but that's not going to last very long at all. So we are definitely wanting to get this constructed and powering this properly so that we can continue to send out carbon dioxide as fast as we can, because we do not want that around anymore. Oopsie. Clicked on something I shouldn't have clicked on. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Trying to think. Alright, so that's going to stall the system for a bit. That's okay, though. That's okay. It's probably wise for us to allow things to kind of catch up at this point, because we have been giving the dupes orders that have superseded a lot of basic functions, which is not typically what I do, but I felt kind of compelled that we needed to get moving on some things. But so now you can see we're starting to get some more concentrated sections of oxygen, even though some of it is polluted oxygen. And then you're going to start to see that carbon dioxide will start to go into more neat locations, which is what we want in the end, if we can get it. But again, our early decisions and some of the ways that we were doing things kind of put us into a bit of a hole when it comes to gas filtering and all that. However, you can see that already with part of the changes, this is already starting to become a more breathable area, which is what we want. Part of that's because we have been pushing out some of the pressure from down here and allowing it to start kind of building up a bit. This one is the only place I want like a true sink of carbon dioxide, so that's why I'm trying to kind of work around that. But the rest of it, ultimately I want to have equilibrium in this area. So you can see I've kind of have a sort of line right here. It's not completely perfect, but this is essentially kind of where I wanted to start looking like this, where we have like clearly defined lines of different materials in the gas section. Eventually I want no polluted oxygen, but polluted oxygen is better than no oxygen also, so it's not that huge of a concern at this point. So yes. And that's just idle. Ah. And the fatal flaw of our system here is that we have aluminum for the gas pump, which did end up overheating and breaking. So that's a bit of a problem. The reason that's a problem is because I've noticed I have no gold amalgam. We have copper, refined copper, we've got iron and all that. There is no gold amalgam, and gold amalgam is my early on temperature resistant material that I tend to use. I was going to come over here and see. Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. So if we look around consumable ore here, oxalite, coal, rust, salt, bleach, and refined phosphorus, and then we want to look at metal ores. Aluminum, iron, copper, wolframite, uranium. Which is awesome. There is a lot of lead over here, but lead is very prone to melting. Very, very prone to melting, so that does not help at all. Which means that the only other option is to try to find, like, the most heat-resistant metal that I can. And I did aluminum just because I wasn't thinking, but if we go back over here again, and we look at our gas pump here, so we look at iron's properties. It has no properties. Aluminum has a high thermal conductivity, which is probably the reason that that was a problem to use. Then we have wolframite, which is thermally reactive, unfortunately. So it heats and cools very quickly. And then it disperses heat quickly through materials. which are all things that we don't want. And then again, the aluminum had that same thing. I was just too stupid to not do it. So, puts us in a bit of a pickle there, right? Because when you look at these gas pumps, they have an overheat temperature of 75 degrees. But hydrogen vents are pumping out at like 500 degrees Celsius. You can already see that it's up to 140 in here right now. So that's a problem. Which is also why we've been trying to cool this down up here. Which may or may not have success. We'll see in a bit. Okay, so now that we've got this all hunky-dory, we're going to start connecting them as such, and then we'll just be removing the legacy piping like that. So yeah, the idea behind this that we're going to try to offset some of the chill, well, some of the heat right here. So we're looking at this, we can kind of get an idea of how well this is working by tracking the temperature when they get out of the insulated pipes. So we come up here and we're looking at, let's go with the 10 kilograms. So the second packet here is 10 kilograms at minus 3.4. Remember that, minus 3.4. And we're just going to let it go all the way to the end, then we're going to track the temperature after. So minus 3.4 on the second packet. And I know I got some notifications popping up. Pay them no mind, we're okay. So what we should see is that we should get a couple of degrees up on this, even though these aren't radiant pipes. They're just regular pipes, which should give off a little bit. So we get to this point, 0.6. So it did take off like 3 degrees or so, because we come back over here again, we can kind of get an idea. So now minus 8. And if we go to the temperature overlay here, you'll start to see the colors will change a bit. So the pipes themselves have started to cool down already. And then you can see some of the colors are beginning to change here as well. So the idea mostly is that we want to try to keep that temperature down and then try to raise these up a little bit on their temperatures as well. So you can see right here that they are kind of warming up a bit as they go through. But there is also some cooler water coming in. Now it's averaging about minus 8, it looks like. And yeah, it's about 3 degrees difference, which isn't huge, but it is a difference. We could compound that a bit more, potentially, if we do something so simple as routing the pipe additionally through the rest of this colony to hit a certain temperature range. But we don't want it to be too cold either, so that's why we're just kind of sticking with this for now. So while we're thinking about it, actually, let's set up a teppidizer in here. Right there specifically. And we'll give it a target temperature to try to hit. And at the same time we do that, we're going to be setting up some automation here, specifically for a thermosensor, which we'll put probably not right on the teppidizer, actually. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should actually set that sensor to be a slight bit above. So I think we'll go like right here. And so the idea with this is that we'll have it send a signal out. Pretty much what I want it to do is when it's not at the temperature we want, we kick this on, we don't allow this to pump anymore. When we've hit the temperature we want, then we turn this on, we kick off the teppidizer because we've reached our target temperature. So first we're going to see what the teppidizer settings are, because I actually haven't used the teppidizer before, because usually I'm dealing with warmer liquids, not cooler liquids for everything. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be different than what we typically do. But you can see right here the average temperature of this polluted water tends to be like between 8 and 9. And these want it to be at least 15. So we're going to have like kind of a middle ground temperature range here. And these require 960 watts of power, which is massive for us right now, actually. So this is just, pretty much we're just turning it on, so we'll wait for that to come over. But in the meantime, we will set up another transformer, which we're just going to go a little closer here, and then we're going to have that heavy watt wire come all the way across. And this is going to be specifically powering just that. So with this, what we want to do is we actually want to set up a couple of tiles right here, and then we're going to be passing the wire through here. And we're going to have to change this just a little bit. We're just going to go ahead and delete these just to get them out of the way. Because we don't want the wires to cross and connect. And I actually don't want this to be pumping anymore, because I would rather that this just feeds these trees and not reduce their temperature too much more. So it's actually fine by me if we just aren't powering that pump for a moment here. But essentially we want this to come over and hook up to that, and then we want that to come up there. And in fact, I'm just going to snip. Let's see. Like I said, I'm going to snip here. Because again, I'm just going to manually disconnect that for the time being. Oh, and then we do want to get some automation wire on each of those, because that will actually equally just turn them off, even if they're connected to power. So maybe we do that instead. As long as those are in place at the very beginning. Because it'll give power, but then it'll say it is disabled by automation. Because when you look at the wire on these, at least it should be. Why is that lead? That should not be lead. That should be anything but lead. I want copper on that. Yep, so then we just do that, then it'll be disabled by the automation grid. And then we can set up our logic and then hook those up to then enable them and to start doing what we want. That's the only time we want those to, like, function, basically. We have a lot of arbor acorns. I'm not too worried about that. I'm not ready to take on another dupe yet still, so I'm not even in the market. I'm just going to reject this all and just re-roll. Because right now we're not at full sustainability. Because we're still on mealwoods, I want to get to nosh sprouts. But I have a couple of other things that I want to set up as well while we're doing this. But it looks like, for the most part, we've got the conveyor rails coming up and ready to start doing that. I haven't noticed, at least, anyone coming up to do this. This is waiting for materials. Which there should be... Oh, we have 30 kilograms of refined copper, but where's our copper ore? Oh, we only have 3 kilos? Oh, that's not good, actually. Which means... Well, we have 3,000 kilos, I guess. So we could do, like, 10 of those, and then... I mean... I kind of hate to do this. I'd rather turn all of my iron ore into steel, but you gotta do what you gotta do, so we'll be doing that. We'll turn that up to a 7, because that is a critical process right now. Because, again, we don't have a refined metal volcano to go off of. But we're now going to be taking all of the wood from this location, and we're actually going to be sending it straight down here with this system. And this is mostly until we've got this nice and cleaned up completely, which we're pretty close to here, you can see already. And then we'll just probably port all this straight down to ethanol distilling. And then right here we're already in the process of moving this stuff. But I think what we need to do is we actually need to kind of come over and do this little action. And cut that off right there. So that these will hopefully start going towards that chute, and then we can either remove these conveyor rails, or we can at least repurpose them for something else. We're just gonna get that built nice and quick. And then again, we just need refined metal, which we're now starting to actually get some, which is very nice. Man, it doesn't look like these want to go that way. I'm trying to encourage them to go that way, but I wonder if they're just being superseded by the loader here. I think they might be, which is okay. We'll just let it go for now. Alright, let's see if we can get... Okay, so we can get our auto sweeper now. So we're going to be doing that. So this auto sweeper is just going to start taking all of this, basically. We'll come up like this. Just because I like the way it looks. And then our ethanol, which is already set to dump off that way, is all set up and ready to go. It just needs to be automatically filled. We look at the wire here, 720 watts max. So this should still be within parameters on the power, not going too crazy, but just barely. So then we'll just hook that up, and this is now going to be an actual ethanol distillery that will be fully functioning. I'll set that there. Set this to a priority of 1 so that dupes don't do it, but the sweeper, or yeah, the auto sweeper will. Then once we have that, then we can start doing the actual Oshbean farm, which is what we've been waiting on. So we'll probably be doing that down here. We're going to try to set that up with additional automation, if we can. Hopefully, at least. What time is it? It is 9:50. Trunk health. Irrigation. Polluted water. Okay, so these are just going to run out of polluted water for a bit. Which, again, that is totally fine. We're okay with that. We are absolutely okay with that. We don't need them to be fully stocked up just yet. But we are going to want to feed them a bit before it's too late. One of a kind! Hey, thank you for the raid. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. How was your stream? How'd it go? Oh my word, he's got the tea. Hello, hello. How come this isn't getting built? Someone explain that to me. Get over here and build that sensor, please. I can only be patient for so long. Come on now. Get over there. Somebody. I'll up the priority. There you go. I did it. 9. Somebody will do it. I know it. Yes. How was your day today? 1. I know we talked a little bit before, but I'm just curious. How did it go? How did it send? You doing like a challenge run or anything? There we go. We got the sweeper. Just turned on. Oh, but this is not. So we just need to enable this building now that we're ready to go. So let's priority 9 to get it enabled, and then we'll switch it back to a 1. Because again, if I recall, the distiller runs automatically on its own. Yes, it does. Sensational. Look at that. We now have a constant source of ethanol. A pretty interesting temperature, actually. So that's something else we'll have to consider, but we'll let it actually, like, fill up the tank here. Because again, what did I say here? I wanted this to be 500 kilos, so it's not like full. So it's like a half tile full right there is what I'm looking for. Just to prevent it from overflowing on the edges there is the plan, at least. So, That's what we're going with here. And then this is all hooked up. This is all ready to go. Okay, now we just have to decide how we want to do this. So, we know we want to hit a temperature range in the 15 to 40 range here. So, I want to send a green signal when we are above... Let's say 20. I'm going to say 20, okay? So with that, I want to pass that through a filter gate where I want it to be sitting there for a little bit. And then, once that's done, we can then pass a couple signals here. So, I want to do that, and then I want to come over here, grab the copper. Just like that. That should allow this to begin operating now. Because that filter gate will give a little bit of time there. We'll see how much time we need to actually, like, kind of roll with it, but we'll see. You warming up a cool slush geyser? I am. Yeah, I'm warming up a cool slush geyser. You caught me, Mookie. I just need to warm it up just enough for the... I just want this tank warmed up. I don't care about warming this up necessarily as it's over here. I just need it warmed up after it's gone through and cooled a couple of things. Warmed up enough that it makes these happy, so I've cut them off for just a little bit. But I can probably hook this... Oh, I didn't snip that, that's right. So I'm trying like a little just impromptu system right now, so we'll see how that actually works in a bit here. Because I don't think I've actually used a tepodizer before, so I don't know how, like, strong they tend to get. Oh. Well, it would appear... Oh yeah, we ran out of hydrogen because no gold amalgam. Because that's a problem. So what I probably need to do... I probably need to install some radiant pipe to cool this down, actually. Make it smart mine with the cold liquid too at some point to make two tanks make sense. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is I only need it at that specific temperature for that specific application, so that's what I was going with. And then like right here, I don't have any gold amalgam, so I need to actually cool this. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to kind of do something like that, and then bring an insulate. Oh no. Oh jeez. Hang on. I can't tell if that's actually... I want this radiant, and then I want insulated. Well, that's close enough, I guess, right there, so we'll go with that. And then I want to snip that for the time being, then I'll come down, I'll actually, like, dig that up. Which means that I'm gonna have to crack this open. Which, that's why I left the liquid lock as a just in case. So I'm gonna set these to a 9, because I actually really need that power. Because I need to cool this in order to get this to start working again. Oh no, oh no, 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 no. What happened? Why was that destroyed? No, wait. I didn't notice that. I must have had some material still there. Oh, it was abyssalite. That's right, there was still some abyssalite there. I'm stupid. Whew, okay. Whew. I was really afraid I was going to start leaking way too much there. Oh, okay, that's not what I wanted at all right there, actually. That's just a waste. So we're just going to replace that with that. Yeah, I only want this section to be radiant and cooling it down. So we fix that. In fact, I want those up before we actually repair the pump. Because this is really starting to kind of become a problem if I can't power that. And I think... No, this is still on the main grid, but I needed to power this pump and start getting at least a little hydrogen in here. Because I completely forgot about that. Oh my word, there's a pip in there. Poor pip. That's okay, we have plenty of others. Alright, so here... I'm thinking like 15 seconds it has to be at that ideal temperature of 20. But that is going to eat up some of our power for a bit while it's attempting to eat up that water. So, we'll see. I'm hoping one teppidizer is more than enough. But we'll see. A wart seed? Oh, I have two people that have diver's lungs, but they're also narcoleptic. One's like a super rancher, though. No, I'll take the wart seed. No, I'll take the wart seed. Don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. We're making decisions, alright? They're not always good decisions, but they are decisions. We have to avoid decision paralysis. One way or another. And then we need to get rid of... We need to get off of mealwood, honestly. Okay, let's get... Let's get this rolling, dupes. Come on. What are we working on? Not dirt. What? No. Wait a second. How come no one's working on this? Wait. Oh, why does that have a priority? No. That should be like a priority 4 on those, actually. There we go. Wondering how come they were all focusing that. Maybe that's what's been messing with some of our priority orders, come to think of it. Oh, wait, it says oh. Oh, yes. You know, sometimes I impress myself with how intensely intelligent I can be. Why aren't they going over there? Maybe because they can't. You ever thought about that? That's a crazy thought, isn't it? I have a super low effort idea for cooling the hydrogen vent. Oh yeah? What do you got? There you go. Get it in there. Okay, yeah, listen. Our oxygen generation's fine. In fact, see, now that we cleaned out that stuff, we're starting to get oxygen more in the areas that are important, and we've actually been venting carbon dioxide, which is very delightful. We like that. Yeah, what's your idea, Mookie? I am open to suggestions. I don't guarantee that I'll take the suggestion, but I'm curious to see. What's your idea for it? Hey, get over here and build this. Get over here. I did set those to like a really high priority because there was some weird stuff going on. I'm gonna knock these back to 7 now that things are more normal, so that we actually have a higher priority than that while we're trying to get things rolling. So, Sketchy, you've been quiet for a little bit. Did you end up figuring out your deal, like, with Ani? Or did you just send it to a new world already? Like a new seed? Make a wall on the right outside... Oh, make a wall on the right out of granite, and let that cool salt be like a tank. Gas cools quick. Oh! Oh, you know what? Hmm. I kind of like that idea, actually. On the other hand, though, this eventually is gonna be... Since I have a cool polluted thing, there's a volcano, like, right here. I was gonna make this its own closed system where we actually let the volcano heat up a lot of this, and then also subsequently cool down the rock. With steam turbines and all that, then, like, send the water out to various tanks and all that. Although, for the time being, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I kind of want to see how this works. If this works the way that I think it will, because without gold amalgam, I just have limited options on material with this start, so... Let me see if this actually satisfies the cooling needs that I have. And if this isn't going to cut it, I do like that idea. If I designed this with that in mind, I'd just be going straight for it, but... I do like that idea, though. Throwing out there? Yeah, no. So like I said, Mookie, I really like the idea. But I'm just wondering if the juice is worth the squeeze, mostly because since these are going to be integrated into each other. I guess we could have a system that drops some of this brine down here to cool it, but I feel like I'd want a large cool body to operate with that large body of hydrogen too. So let's speed this up. Let's let this run its course and then we'll decide. If this will cool it enough, I'm pretty content with that. I don't know if it is going to cool it enough, though. Beginning to have doubts. It says unreachable again? Really? I thought that... Oh, you know what? It's because of the tile above, huh? Yes, yes it is. So this ladder's actually essentially useless now, come to think of it. So we can just go ahead and we'll just deconstruct that. Okay, so now they can reach it and fix all that. And hopefully they do it before this temperature gets too hot, then we can close it up again. Okay, well, I wanted them to do the pipe first, actually, but that's fine. Alright, that's got that coming through now. Perfect. Look at that. That is actually... That cooled it down super fast. I don't know if that's going to maintain, largely because it's dependent on this constantly pumping in order to get it, unless we set up a little system to just have it continuously cycle through. I just know that, like what I said once when I had a cool slush geyser right next to a hydrant vent, never really had to tame the vent. Oh, it worked that well, huh? That is a thought. So I think the only difference again is that I've got right here, there's this minor volcano. So I could potentially like separate the systems a bit, but I'd have to kind of snake around it to get it in here. Not impossible, but my idea was to kind of have this be like a self-contained area with the volcano at the bottom, the cool salt slush at the top, where the salt slush falls down with everything that's like hot down here. Turns into steam. We have the salt and all that can get processed out. I don't have all the particulars on the system just yet, but that's kind of the initial thought so far. Let's see, and also probably having this made out of aluminum doesn't help anything. I kind of wonder, can I... Yeah, let me change this material. I'm going to change it to... Should I do uranium? Since it has slow heating, actually. Let's see. I actually might... I feel like I could use the... I'll do iron Just because it's like thermally neutral compared to this other stuff, because everything else seems to be like reactive. There we go. I'm actually really glad they added that I could just swap materials out like that. That makes things so... Oh, well. It's kind of just swapping the material out, I suppose. Not exactly what I thought. That's a bit awkward. On the other hand, it looks like it's also cooling the hydrogen as it hits this. I was just noticing. Unless it's just cooling it with all this up here. And I'm looking at this, so -9. So it's changed it from a 3-degree difference to a 6-degree difference. Which isn't too bad. Which makes me wonder if I should try to set up some automation to actually, like, loop this. And then just, like, send the water on when it's too warm for that. That might be a better idea. At least it makes it so you don't have to sit and watch it. That is true. Because right now I am having to, like, kind of tune this a little bit. I just wish I had gold amalgam. That's all I want. I just wanted gold amalgam. I'm not even, like, asking for steel right now. I just wanted to have something that was a little thermally resistant. You know what I mean? But I'll take the iron. Set that to 8 real quick. So let's see here. So we're still building up that little stockpile of ethanol with all the wood that we accumulated while we were lollygagging earlier. Oh, pressure. We having pressure issues still? Kind of. Now we're running out of the hydrogen again there, but luckily there's a little bit more on the way, so that should help. Yeah, so the hydrogen's actually coming out once it's pumped. Yeah, at like much nicer temperatures there. That is pretty nice. Okay, yeah, I like that. As long as this continues to pump enough water for us to actually send over there and maintain that, I think we're okay. So, I think we can just go ahead and deconstruct that little piece of liquid. Did that just destroy it? Oh no, it dumped it down there. That's fine. That's okay. I'll just let it sit. It's not worth the hassle right now. Okay, now that that's pretty much working, we're just gonna kind of seal this off again. Just so that it doesn't come up and ruin our liquid lock, and then go from there. Just because as long as it's cooled for the time being, that's really the only thing I care about. The rest of it will come with time. I hope. Plus, I do know that this is definitely causing issues being over here. This is a big power draw with our tiny system. But I can see right here we're actually reaching the temperature values I'm looking for, which means that we're actually able to turn the pump on. Which is nice. Yeah, that tepodizer is actually really, really awesome. I am very happy with that. And it looks like a 15-second buffer seems to be doing okay. That also helps to alleviate some of the power draw if we just make sure that tepodizer's not running just permanently. So that now solves another problem. Oh my word, a classic cummerbund? Oh my goodness, we have to get that on somebody. Oh no, I can't see it. I can't see it in there. No. Oh, there it is. We'll give it to Mosquito next down the list. I think there was a snazzy suit somewhere in here, too. Wonder if I can... Two units. Okay. So if I just type in suit... No? Okay. I was hoping it would, like, tell us a little bit more than that, but anyway. We got that. Every time I see a suit, I'm obligated to get that out and rolling. Okay. So yes, this now works as long as this is pumping water, basically. And this is... dormant in 75 cycles. Okay, so this is going to be running as long as this will be running easily. So, I'm not too worried about that right now, then. We can worry about an actual full system later, although it is kind of coming in waves. Unfortunately. We can fix that a bit by popping that open, I think. And just kind of letting some of this bleed in. Because it doesn't have to be, like, super constant, but I think if we look over here, yeah, the pump is already beginning to slowly creep into that temperature range that we don't want it to hit. Yeah, but then right there, as soon as the water comes in, like, it cools it down super fast. We just want to try to keep it constant right now while we're, trying to allow this to do its job. And I do know that this should... well, maybe we should set up some automation here. Yeah, I'll just go right here with it. This probably isn't super necessary, but I like to have, you know, redundancies, so just to make sure that this isn't going to, like, go super overpressured right now. And I want it to be, like, a nice sort of line right here, too. Because then it will allow me to let some of this just kind of sit there, too. Oh, maybe sitting there is not the best idea. Okay, let's do some of that, so... send green signal, yes, below 500 is fine. Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is for this necessarily, but this should at least keep it at a decent temperature range, I hope. If I wanted to be a little bit smarter about it, I actually make a more complex, like, logic system to go with this, to make sure that we just loop in cool water and all that, but it's not meant to be efficient, it's meant to just be kind of like a rough start right now, so we'll take it. As long as it's working and it's providing us with power for a bit, that is really all that we need. The other hope is that eventually it turns this into a vacuum as well, that we can then come in and work on some of this stuff, but that won't be for 64 more cycles. So we're looking at doing those changes not until, shoot, like cycle 201, maybe? Well, no, not quite. Yeah, 201, roundabout. At, like, the earliest, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I think we've evened out on food, but we need to start thinking about the nosh bean stuff. So, we know... what do we know about nosh beans? Let's see. Life cycle of 21 cycles. And a single nosh bean gives... how much? Not the nosh bean plant, I wanted the actual nosh bean. There we go. Good quality. You can use it in curried beans, which is just tonic root beans. You can do tofu. I think the beans themselves are a better quality standard than the tofu, it looks like. So what's the catch with it? So you get 6 units. Ah, you can't eat it as is. It has no calories. That's the difference. So 6 of these will then turn into 1 tofu and a microbe musher. So that's going to require some dupe labor. And it's going to require water. I did not realize that. So what? So what does that mean? Well, I think number 1, it definitely means that we need to have a clean water system coming in now. Which, as it stands right now, I was going to try to use the brine for that. But push comes to shove, we could just be taking the same cool this cool slush geyser and using its water. We could tap into this water here, which is warm. It is definitely not cool. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that information? Because the first response is that we use that cool geyser there in conjunction with this. Or we would use this water and this steam with some volcanoes that are down here, but I think this is actually another cool. Oh no, this is a sulfur geyser. Never mind. Never mind, that's a different thing entirely. Alright. So what do we do? What do we do with that? Well, we don't necessarily have to store the brine here. We could actually pump it and put it into some buffer tanks and use them. But we could just as easily just pump this water up here and just kind of run it through to come to think of it. Yeah, without knowing the rate at which it would cool down with that, it can be a little strange to do that, I guess. But it doesn't change the fact that we do need a clean water source coming in on top of all this other stuff. I guess, what does this typically come out at? I guess I don't know, it's dormant, so what we do want to do actually is we want to dig in over here, and we want to get an idea of how that's going to work with us here. So we're going to do some of this, and then bring a ladder up, and then we're going to analyze this at a priority of 9 because we want to get it rolling. Who's starving? Omen. Relax, Omen, you'll be okay. So it's a little roundabout, but we're going to come in from this way in order to get up in here to analyze this, since it happens to be dormant right now. And the temperature doesn't seem like it's too terrible here. There's a lot of water. The water is pretty toasty, I'm not going to lie. Compared to some of the other water we've been dealing with, but hopefully what this means is that we have an effective means to get some clean water at relatively low effort. We do have this thermo nullifier down here that we could tap into, because we do have a hydrogen source that we're using as our primary power system right now. But there's nothing to say that we can't supplement our power system and use the hydrogen as a backup for other things and all that. Because it also depends on how often we're using some of our higher power requirements, too. So I think we come over, we analyze this while it's dormant. Get a general idea for how long we have to actually work on it. And go from there. Just because, like, my main concern... Honestly, the main concern in the end just stems from how convoluted everything is right here. So I have to, like... I kind of have to, like, weave things around so that they work until I can then make them prettier. So... I set my colony to space last night. Have a crazy amount of super coolant now. Oh, there you go. Super coolant's fun. We like that. That's always happy. I don't got that right now, that's for sure. I have a severe lack of everything that I desire, to be honest with you. Quite a severe lack. I'm not like in the prettiest, happiest of spots with that. Yeah, toasty surroundings, kind of what I figured, but it's fine. That's what we have the triage center for up here. Let's see. Yeah, so the Nosh Bean situation has changed things a bit. I did not realize that the beans themselves were not edible. But I can turn them into tofu, which is relatively low effort, I feel. I just want to do it in a way that I reduce dupe labor as much as I can here. So, where do I set this up at the same time? Because the water is going to be the next step into, like, making that happen. What I can't remember is I don't think the water and all that transfers its heat into this. I don't think so, at least. 6 units of Nosh beans, and each sprout... How many beans do these produce? 12. Those could be pretty good, actually. Because they do 12 every 21 cycles. That then means... every 21 cycles, you get 2 of these tofu bits. They spoil pretty quickly, though. You can do spicy tofu for an increased quality, actually. And then also you get the 4,000 kilocalories straight up, but you have to have pinch of pepper nuts to go with it. And these prefer phosphorite, water, and then just air pressure. That might take some critical thinking that my sick brain may not be able to handle in the immediate future here, but definitely willing to try. So I'm gonna get some more of these going. Again, I don't have a refined metal volcano, but I don't want to turn all my ore into refined metal just off the bat, because there's always a need for some of the ore for a while too. So you sent your colony to space. Was that in? So are you playing vanilla or spaced out, Mookie? I actually forgot to ask that. Okay, so we've stopped that flow, which now means we got our polluted water here, which is still chilling all this. Okay, so... oh, that's right, because the water doesn't cool down nearly as fast as some of the other stuff. Okay, that tile is getting some heat, though. That one is transferring heat. Spaced out? Okay. So what temperature does polluted water flash, actually? So it goes to steam at 119, and this is going up 500, 138 right there. Okay, so if it's not moving constantly, it could pose some potential risk. Water plant has a crazy amount of graphite to make fullerene and then supercoolant. Oh, okay. Very nice, very nice. Good for you. I like it. It's always nice to have endgame material. This is disabled. Why are you disabled? Oh, it's because there's random packets around that are stopping this from just pumping out all of the CO2. That is to be expected, I guess, because there's still some oxygen packets over here. Kinda causing issues. I think we need to deconstruct all of those tiles and just let the oxygen flow back up. That way it's not causing an issue over here. Alright, let's have a check at this again. Larva eggs. I do have a carbon dioxide problem. And I have the opportunity to use slicksters that have just been given to me. Is it worth it more than just like setting up an oil rigs over on the second planet though? Hold that thought for just a moment. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, grab a drink. Then I'm gonna decide if I'm gonna ranch slicksters this early. I think I might. I'm kind of liking the idea. Yeah, let me think about it. The meat would actually be... because we got a bit of a problem. We got a sick kid upstairs, so we don't want to keep mommy up for too long here, but she's also feeding a baby, so we got a few minutes here. So I think what I'm gonna do, we're gonna touch up a couple things, and then we're gonna call it early tonight. So, you know, apologies for that, but we're gonna just touch up a couple things here. And then I have decided we're going to ranch the slicksters, because I might be able to even use the carbon dioxide already existing down here once they're actually hatched. So we're gonna do that. But we need to wait for the slicksters to actually hatch to like do that. So we're gonna put that down on our list of what we're doing. But just to remind myself here, as a little note, we're gonna do a little. I'm gonna do like a little S shape right here, because that's a fun way to remind us what we're doing. You should go for ranchers. Oh yeah, ranching is very powerful. Very powerful. Do not underestimate ranching. So I don't usually go for this particular ranch right here. And I was going to try to do like a natural growth with it, but I actually really like this system because you get wood very quickly for the ethanol and that. But so ranching is very good for achieving sustainability. And not everybody has sustainability. If you want to have a really, really easy time with oxygen not included, sustainability is something that you should be looking for very early on. So this is a sustaining system where we've got arbor trees, and then we have pips, and the pips are producing dirt. And arbor trees, what do they take? They take dirt as a fertilization, 10 kilograms a cycle, and then they have polluted waters and irrigation. So pips here, they emit dirt, right there, so they excrete dirt, 20 kilograms a cycle when properly fed. So how much did one of these take? Again, for dirt, let's just look at that again. It was 10, I believe, right? Per cycle. So one pip properly fed and maintained can sustain 2 arbor trees. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7, not quite 8. So, but essentially you would only need like 3 to 4 pips to fertilize all these. Other pips are just bonuses. They're extras. So right here we actually have, how many critters do we have in here right now? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7. Oh, 8. There's 8. There was one hiding somewhere. So you have 8 pips in here. They're properly fed. They're properly groomed, meaning that you have the equivalent of 160 kilograms of dirt per cycle, and you don't have to like specifically feed them because they actually eat the branches off these arbor trees here. We just come in and we harvest the excess that they're not eating, right? So all well and good. You can get a little bit of meat from pips. I don't ranch them for meat. I don't think they give you a lot of meat, if I recall. So I don't do that. This is mostly just to get the wood and to get dirt sustainably here. Now, the other thing, dirt can be used in a bunch of other like farming processes as well. So you can do another ranch if you need just more dirt specifically. That is another option you can do completely. But in our cases here, we're just going to use this one for now. And then since we have a population of pips, we can then get eggs, and we can then populate another ranch later. And we have acorns, we can populate another one later to sustain things. Why would you kill a pip? You don't kill them. When they expire, when they die, they will turn into meat just kind of naturally. Don't let it go to waste. Turn it into barbecue type of thing. Excess eggs as well, you do want to send somewhere else. So right now, we've got all the excess eggs are going in with all this stuff here. There's going to be an explosion of pips eventually that'll come over here. We're not going to worry about that right now because I don't mind having wild pips running around. So pips are one of the things I don't care if they run around like randomly planting stuff. That doesn't really affect me all that much. But shine bugs and hatches, I don't like having hatches out and about all the time. But as you can see, we do have some hatches here that we just haven't ranched because we're not using coal as a main power generation source right now. We don't need it. We just don't need it. What about Drecos? Drecos, very useful. Very useful. If you don't have any any thimble reeds. So right here, I haven't found a single thimble reed. We did have a Dreco somewhere in here, and a poke shell. Poke shells are nice for a couple different applications as well, but it's mostly to get lime out of the molts. I might have lost my Dreco, come to think of it. But since we have access to hydrogen for free, it's like a no-brainer that if we find a Dreco, we should start ranching it to get the thimble reeds. Well, to get the reed fiber, and then to get the glossy Drecos to get free plastic out of that too. It's no-brainer. It can be a little difficult to get set up, but once it's set up, it pays dividends heavily on that. So, if I don't... Oh, there we go. There's a Dreco. So we're keeping this contained, actually. I knew there was a Dreco somewhere. We're keeping this Dreco contained right now. So that nothing happens to it in the course of us doing things. And then we'll grab this, or one of these two at least, and then we'll start ranching Drecos when we're ready. Because I know Drecos and other animals will maintain a population pretty easy. I'm still not sure if I'm going to be using this right now. I haven't fully decided yet. I think all it takes is just hydrogen. I don't think you have to actually, like, power it. Yeah, there's no option to even power it. I think it just straight up takes hydrogen, if I recall. What does it do? So this is actually an interesting way of removing heat. So it says right here, self-sustaining machine powered by refined neutronium. So basically you just don't have to power it. Absorbs and neutralizes heat energy when provided with piped hydrogen gas. So basically you feed this thing hydrogen, and it's going to delete heat in this area. So this can be like a natural, quote-unquote, found cooling area if you provide it with hydrogen. I'm trying to decide if I actually want to do that, though. You can't move it, so you have to deal with it with where you find it. And it's kind of out here out of the way, which isn't the worst. But since I don't really have a heating problem just yet, I haven't decided if I'm going to actually use it or if I'm just going to leave it where it is. So, what was I going to do real quick? So we decided to get the Slicksters. And like I said, this S right here is just to remind me, like, hey, you got some Slickster eggs, you need to make a ranch for them so that when they do actually become, you know, baby larva Slicksters, we need to actually put them in here and get them where they can start collecting oil. Because that'll be very nice, handy, and it gives us another outlet for all of this carbon dioxide that we've been producing. Rather than just venting it all out like we have been doing, we could even, instead of doing Slicksters down here, we could actually just go ahead and come up here and then just port some of these carbon dioxide packets out. There is some oxygen coming up. That should not be happening. Where's that happening at? Is it happening down here? Say that should absolutely not be happening. Oh, it's happening down here. Okay, this needs to change. That's bad. Ah, so I see the problem here. So we need to change the position of this, actually. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to delete that, and we're going to actually change it to be up higher. And why are we going to do this? It's very simple. The reason that we want to do that is because we want to have no possibility of sending oxygen out that we can be using. So I've actually been wasting oxygen this entire time. Which is not a good feeling. I will admit right now that it's not a good feeling. So I want to come up here instead. And then we're going to run this wire like that. And because we want to get this done nice and quick, so we want to get this gas element sensor out of the way now. Because every second this is here, this is now, see, little tiny packet of oxygen there, little tiny packet there. We don't want that. And in fact, we want the chlorine to get eaten up here as well anyway. We actually don't want, we don't want to waste the chlorine, because the chlorine is what we're using on the salt vines here. Yeah, so now we could have been having more oxygen pressurizing out here, but instead we've been venting it to space. That's not what we wanted. We want to make the rest of this a little bit more clean. What trait should I have for a rancher? That depends on you. That entirely depends on what you're looking for in a rancher. If you want a dedicated rancher, get like the highest rancher, you know, that you can, and then just make sure they don't have anything that goes against like what a rancher does, essentially. I know that seems really, you know, like oversimplistic, but that's really what it is. So you got to think about when you look at a rancher, what a rancher's doing. So ranchers typically have agriculture in there because they likely have an interest in farming, not always, but sometimes they do. But anything to do with husbandry, if you get a debuff to husbandry, probably not a great rancher, even if they start off with a high amount with it. Typically, when you have your initial colony, you want to have dupes that can fulfill multiple roles. So, for example, Famous over here, he's a constructor and a farmer, so he can do 2 roles right here. We just haven't been speccing into farming super heavily, but later we will, so he can do both. So when we're not building stuff, he can also come in here and be a really good farmer. Mobius is a grill and a researcher, okay? So he can cook with the grilling, but then he could also do a bunch of our research. That's his primary role. Mosquito is a constructor digger, so we have 2 people that are good at the construction bit. We just haven't specced into this because we've been building up things. But then we also need people that can dig stuff, so... Omen over here, he's our rancher, but also a decorator. Because it's nice to have a decorator to make, like, decor improvements and all that, because it helps keep dupes happy. Then we got Raving over here, who unfortunately we had to force him into mechatronics engineering, even though he prefers pyrotechnics right here with the tidying, which is blast shot making. We're actually going to go ahead and do that because that balances out his morale needs and all that. But we needed him to fulfill this role while we were training up Teddy, who is then going to get skill scrubbed on this, to then go fully into mechatronics engineering because they have more of a passion for it than Raving does. So, a lot of the stuff you'll see the hearts and that. I know you can't see the hearts when you are in the printing pod, but anything that they have like an interest in is going to have these hearts, and they're going to get morale bonuses with all that. So that's what you're looking for on any role, really. Okay, so we set the S there to remind us that we're doing Slickster ranching. Our food levels are mediocre right now, I'll be honest with you. I think just to alleviate it, I'm going to go ahead and set up some farm tiles. We'll just go 1 level up on these across. And we're going to set these a priority of 9 just to get them built super quick. Because the last thing that we want to do is have not enough food. And it looks like we're kind of on the edge, so maybe we'll go... What is this, 22? Let's cut this in half, actually. We're going to cut this in half. I don't think we need that many, because I don't want to be having too much rot. Not because rot isn't useful, but because I want to be able to do something with that rot, and I'm not to the point that I'm processing rot just yet. So do that, and then we're just going to pretty much copy these settings, just go straight across when they're all done, so we can just do it in one go. And the other issue with this, that this is still manual farming. So we don't want to do this typically. We just don't really have much of a choice because mealwood is the most accessible thing that we can eat right now. And it's just kind of sustaining us. It's not very pretty, it's not very delicious. But we're just kind of using the mealwood to sustain us while we get to more nice things that we will be sustaining off of. So, there you go. There's my explanation for that. But I don't think I have time to do too much more right now. But I do like that we fixed our hydrogen situation here for the most part, I believe. Yep, just as long as this is able to continue to move. And as long as we're constantly eating the polluted water down here, this should still achieve a balance, is the hope. Meaning that this should never flash to steam over here. And then hopefully we can turn this into a vacuum. We can set up a better system here that has more automation with the cooling and that. I have a couple of different ways to do that. I do really actually like Mookie's idea with the tiles over here. But I need to evaluate how it would integrate with my future idea for this volcano geyser correlation. So I will wait on that before committing to that completely. But I am going to keep that in mind because we did have this, the rust deoxidizer idea that came through. That was a very nice idea. That was very cool, very clean. And we picked it up and went with that because that was a very good idea. I really liked that idea. So we'll stick with that, I think. Okay. But like I said, I got sick kids that I have to take care of. I probably spent too much time here already. So we should still be back. I know we're early tonight, but we'll be back on Wednesday at the same time. So Wednesday we're going to be doing Baldur's Gate with a group for the first 4 hours. After that, we can do Oxygen, but we might switch up and do like another game, kind of like something that we don't typically do. I'm still debating on that. And then hopefully Friday will be like a grinding day for one of our more grindy games. We'll see though, but yep, we're just gonna save it right here. Like I said, I might do a little bit of off-stream work on this. Anything that I do off-stream, I will go through and explain what I did and why I made the change. It's just sometimes easier while I'm dealing with kids and stuff for me to like have something to focus on, and this is a very good outlet for that, so. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to go over right now, so like I said, thank you to everybody that's lurking, that's been here for this long. Thank you for everybody that's been in for as long as we have been. Sorry again for the early cutout on this. Hopefully people enjoyed Helldivers. Sorry for like the interruption that happened and then the crash. I don't know fully what happened. I might have to reduce settings because I know I cranked up my settings last time, not thinking about how it might impact this. That might be another incentive for upgrading the computer. We'll see. But we will be back on Wednesday. Again, Baldur's Gate at the beginning. Honor mode run, by the way. We're still doing that. And then probably go into Oxygen because I've been feeling Oxygen. But we'll see. I'll let you guys know a little bit more day of. So, thank you, Sketchy. I appreciate that. So, again, last words. If you haven't followed already, make sure that you hit the follow button if you want to be up to date on this. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday are our typical stream days. You can join the Discord, !Discord on Twitch if you want to follow us. Make sure you're up to date with things. Hang out, interact, discuss different designs. I love to see what people have done with things. So, but I do have to get out of here because I have a kid that's sick. So I will leave you guys with that. Have a good night and see you Wednesday.